Hello and thank you so much for clicking play. Yesterday I came to you with what I termed as incredible, amazing, very good news coming out of Africa, and that is that President Donald J. Trump from the States decided to cut down funding of the US aid. He cut down funding up to from what I understand, 80%. 80% of the funding was cut, meaning that the US aid has a significantly lower presence in African countries, okay? A lot of them are packing and leaving a lot of the African countries that they've had heavy presence in. Now, if you're confused and you're wondering how and why that would be good news, because the official story is that they give a lot of aid, donations, they are good, they are charity. If you're confused as to why Africans are celebrating that, just go and watch my video from yesterday where I explained to you how these organizations are just a front for corruption, looting of our minerals and resources, as well as meddling in our politics. It's been happening for decades, and Africans, we are waking up to this nonsense. We are so happy that Donald J. Trump decided, you know what, America first, get the hell out of African countries, come back home and focus. Let us redirect that money, those monies that were being funneled into all these projects that are just fake. They've just been using these projects as a front to make themselves rich, to start such senseless wars that have seen a lot of destruction on our continent. Trump said, call them back, let them come back here and concentrate on our country, which is the United States of America, and not on other people's countries. We could not be happier because we don't understand why Westerners feel like they can police us to date. Colonization ended. Slave trade ended. Why do you feel like you have some kind of authority over the African continent? Oh, don't worry, we know the answer, because that's where you loot. That's where you steal minerals and resources. That's where you're able to corrupt the people, corrupt their leaders, start senseless wars, and in turn make yourselves very rich. We have most of the natural resources on the planet, most of the diamond, the gold, the cobalt, you name it, platinum, it is all on the African continent. It is about time that Africa, the African continent, started self-rule finally, like how it used to be. So if you want more details on that, why we were very happy that Trump decided, you know what, America first, and why we are taking that as an opportunity to say Africa first, we are putting ourselves first as well, go and watch my video. But on today's video, I have even better news. Can you believe it? It's like there's something in the air. People are waking up. People are tired of the old guard. The old guard has got to go. The old guard has got to die off. Those old ideologies, those old lies, that old manipulation game, people are tired of it. If you look around you, it's like people are just suddenly waking up. People are suddenly asking questions. People are suddenly standing up to, those organizations that you were told you could never stand up to. Those leaders that you were told you could never stand up to because they are too superior. The elite, the normal, everyday, common people are like, by the way, who the heck are this elite? We want to see your faces. People are asking questions. People are tired. And one of those people is Rwandese President Paul Kagame, who today I have got to salute. Thank you, sir, for telling the Belgians to pack and leave. About time, because why would former colonizers still have such a heavy presence in Rwanda, meddling in Rwandese politics? Kagame recently made a very strong statement, which I'm about to read for you. My laptop is right over here. Let me just read you Paul Kagame's statement. He has really made me proud. It's about time. It's about time that Africa stood up and just started ruling itself, okay? We are told that Congo, and we know it, we see it, Congo has a lot of socio-economic problems. Congo is one of the poorest nations on earth. Yet, if you look at the minerals and the resources in Congo, it's the richest nation on earth. as far as resources are concerned, as far as minerals are concerned, there is no country richer than Congo. Think about Qatar. The only thing they have there making them the richest country on the globe, or one of, is oil. Congo has more than that. Yet the people are living under the international poverty line. Like, how? Like, you mean to say Europe was going to loot us forever? Did they think that their ploy, which they started not even decades, centuries ago, is just going to go unchecked forever? People are waking up. People are asking questions. Currently, in the DRC, there's been this war that has been ongoing since I was a child. And Kagame is now asking, why is Rwanda being dragged into a war that has nothing to do with Rwanda? Because the accusation by Belgium is that Kagame is supporting the rebel fighters in Congo, and therefore he should be sanctioned. And Kagame is like, shame on you. First of all, the reason why there's even a problem in Congo is because of you, Western powers. It's because of the white man who went to Congo and separated the people. Do you know that during the colonization time, they did not care that certain communities did not share a culture. They did not share the same tradition. Heck, they did not even have the same language. The colonizer did not care about that. He just separated people along colonial lines. He just made his boundaries and said, okay, this is Uganda, this is Kenya, this is Tanzania, this is Congo. And then somebody ends up with the rival tribe where previously they were living peacefully, even though they have different cultures. They believe in, different beliefs when it comes to their traditional gods. They don't believe in the same things. These ones are pagans, these ones are whatever. And they lived, separately but peacefully. And now you mix them, gather them without consideration for their religious beliefs, their cultural beliefs, their traditional beliefs. And before you know it, you have interclan clashes. And then the colonizer, being as evil as he is, he went ahead to incite, to instigate, and make it worse so he can use the very old dirty tactic of divide and rule. Africans are waking up and asking questions, okay? The world is waking up. I don't know if you can feel it too, or it's only me, that right now there's a great awakening going on. People are asking questions. People are asking for justice. People want to know, why is the old guard still in charge? Why is Belgium still on the African continent? Some of the worst of the worst. If I tell you some of the things that Belgians did to the Rwandese, to the Congolese, to the parts of Africa where they had a presence during the colonial era, it makes the Third Reich, led by the Nazis, look like child's play. What the Nazis did to the Jews looks like child play compared to what Belgians did to Africa. Do you know there is documentation, actual scientific proof of former Belgian colonizers releasing dogs on babies in front of their parents? They hold the parents back and they release the dogs to slaughter the babies, to attack and eat live babies in front of their parents. That's the kind of evil that we are talking about here. Children were being attacked by dogs in front of their parents. That is the evil we are discussing here. Why do such people still have a presence on the African continent and still have a say on countries such as Rwanda? What are they doing trying to lecture Rwanda and police Rwanda? Congratulations, Paul Kagame. Paul Kagame, Simba. Simba is Swahili for lion, for saying, hey, wait a minute, go to hell. Okay, you have 48 hours. He has cut off all diplomatic ties with Belgium, and I'm just about to read you his statement. BBC has reported on this headline, Rwanda service ties with Belgium over DRC conflict. Because Kagame is like, first of all, the conflict in DRC, you're the guys who started it. Let us just start there. In the 13th, 14th century, Congo had a great monarchy. Long before any white man ever stepped foot on the African continent to engage in slave trade, colonization, or any of the evils that they have engaged in and continue to engage in on the African continent, long before that happened, Congo had one of the most powerful kingdoms the world had ever seen. Present-day DRC, Angola, Southern Gabon, Republic of the Congo, amongst other regions in this area, were part of this great kingdom of Congo. It gave the world some of the best artists to ever walk the face of the earth. To date, the works of these artists are still being displayed in museums all over the Western world, from Europe to America. Some of the artifacts that were stolen from Congo are yet to be given back. The Congolese were trading with the Arabs long before any white man came. In fact, if you don't believe me, here's a short clip that gets into a little bit of details of the Kingdom of Congo. Maybe this is a bit of a head start for you, and then you can go and do more research. All these lies that they tell you in Western education of how they just found a dark continent, those are lies that help them justify the inhumane treatment of Africans. Those are the lies that they come up with to tell you, oh, we went there and we just found a dark continent and they were very primitive, running around naked, and we decided to give them civilization. Shame on the liars. Shame on the liars that are getting exposed every day. Like I said, people are waking up. Anyways, here's a short clip of the same.
When discussing the nations that people consider to be superpowers in their regions, one might say the Soviet Union, the Qing dynasty of China, the United States, Great Britain, or Napoleonic France. But today, we will focus on a lesser-known power that was very important in the scheme of world history that isn't really talked about so much. Today, we will take a look at the African super. The Kingdom of Congo was a country that existed in Central Africa between the years of 1390 all the way up until 1914. To break this down further, the country was a sovereign entity up until 1857, when it then became a vassal of the Kingdom of Portugal. This then lasted up until 1910, when, until 1914, it became a subject of the First Portuguese Republic. The kingdom provided a gateway for Europeans into sub-Saharan Africa and was the launching point for Christianity into sub-Saharan Africa. The Kingdom of Congo was founded by Lukeni Iwanimi after he named the town of Mombasa, Congo, on top of the mountain his capital after he conquered the Kingdom of Mwene Kabunga. Over the next few generations of rulers, the country would go on to expand their territory, including taking control of the Kingdom of Luango, which is in the present-day Republic of Congo. A unique feature of the country was the level of centralization that it possessed. This allowed the nation to expand and also stay very stable. This centrality was provided because of the high population density around the capital city. When the Portuguese eventually traveled to the capital city, they described it as a very large city. This meaning that the population of the nation was very large.
I'll just pause the video right here to say that if you look at the architectural find, okay, there's been anthropologists, there's been archaeologists who've gone to certain parts of Africa and found evidence of advanced cities. If you look at the scientific evidence, you're just left to wonder why the liars keep on telling the bold lies that they found nothing but mud huts and caves and people who are just wild running around naked. Like, how do you tell us to trust in science, and when the scientific evidence is against you, you now want us to just trust in the news? Now forget science, just trust in the BBC and the CNN. Trust in what we give you in the Western school curriculum. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Take, for instance, Kenya. I'm a Kenyan. We have a lot of evidence that Africans in Kenya were trading with the Omanis centuries before any white man ever came to our Kenyan coastline. Like, go to Gedi ruins in Kenya, for instance, and see the ruins of cities there. It's like, come on. At some point, your lies were going to get exposed. The evidence is overwhelming. Anyways, back to the video.
How large to be exact? Well, the population of the nation at this time was nearly 500,000 people, with 100,000 of which living in the capital or its surrounding suburbs. The power that the king gained from this made the country not only strong centrally, but also allowed it to project power outside of just the capital city and into the surrounding regions and foothills surrounding Mombasa, Congo. And it was also extremely wealthy because of the way that the rivers. As I have mentioned so far, the Portuguese had a large part to play in the story of the people of the Congo. In the year 1483, the Portuguese explorer Diogo Cao ventured up at the time the uncharted Congo River. As he progressed into the hinterlands of the river, he came across Congo villages. After some exchange, he took some nobles back with him to Portugal and left some men to talk to the Congo natives. When he returned in 1485, the king of the Congo, Nzinga Anuuku, converted to Christianity. When Kao returned again in 1491 for a third time, he was accompanied by soldiers and priests. The king was baptized and renamed João I, after the Portuguese king who was João II. His son, Alfonso I, established Christianity as the official religion of the country and continued to strengthen the position of the church within the Kingdom of Congo. The country would continue to grow in power and influence, eventually being able to rise. What made the country so wealthy was the trade of ivory, copper, salt, cattle hides, and eventually slaves. The slave trade was especially important both internationally and domestically. Slaves were brought in from the interior of the Congo River Basin and sent to the ports for trade with the Portuguese. This continued till the Portuguese, angered by the increased influence of the Congo, cut off trade with the Congo kings. The kingdom would never recover from this. Eventually, wars were fought between neighboring kingdoms, and the Kingdom of the Congo was weakened. In 1568, civil wars had broken out, and the kings of the Congo needed Portuguese help to reclaim their throne. By 1710, the country had been utterly defeated and destroyed, and would never regain its former glory. Although the title of king and the name of the country continued on, the Congo finally came to an end, and ended when, in 1914, it became the colony of Angola under the lead. At its peak, the Kingdom of the Congo had 2 million people and a standing army of 20,000 men, pretty much at the same level as Portugal at the time. This makes the Congo on par with one of the most powerful nations at the time, and it also makes it a regional superpower. This nation is extremely important in world history, not only because it is heavily overshadowed by other African nations like Songhai and the Abyssinian Empire, but also because it was a gateway for Christianity into sub-Saharan Africa. The nation is also extremely important for understanding the slave trade dynamic called the triangular trade. The vast majority of those that were enslaved from the Congo River Basin ended up arriving in Brazil to work on the Portuguese sugar plantations. All of this makes the Kingdom of Congo an important and lesser-known superpower that has changed the shape of the globe and has changed the context in which we look at colonization of both Africa and the Americas.
Before the Portuguese came and started pretending to be friendly because they saw, okay, this can be a good vessel state for us, you right? Because of the pathways that they could use for trade. And then they saw, okay, this country is full of minerals. There is a lot to be gained here. There is a lot of resources here. Let us dupe them. Let us pretend to be allies, and then we can loot them. Finally, we can colonize them. We can go on and have slave trade, heavy presence of slave trade. Some of the transatlantic slave trade went all the way to Central Africa, right? Not only the west of Africa. And that's how they gained control of that region. And now you want to tell us, let me tell you something. The world is waking up. So, President Paul Kagame, while addressing a rally in the capital, Kigali. And by the way, Rwanda is the cleanest country in Africa. You know about the war that they went through, Tutsi versus Hutu, was it? Rwanda is one of the cleanest nations in Africa, if not the cleanest. Rwanda is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, despite the decades of war that they had. You know about the Tutsi, Hutu wars, and even that can be attributed to the meddling of foreign countries, Western countries, but that's a story for another day. And despite all that, Rwanda has been able to rebuild itself very quickly. Very quickly, it's been making huge strides. And now the West wants to come and meddle once more. Today, in modern times. No, we won't allow it. I'm sorry. I'm Kenyan myself. I'm from East Africa. But I mean, these are our brothers and sisters, okay? We see how our continent has been taken advantage of. We see what has been going on. We now have our eyes wide open. We see how things have been run. Anyways, the president, Paul Kagame, who is my hero today, Simba is what I call him, while addressing a rally in the capital Kigali, this is what he had to say. He said, quote, "Now, what you see happening every day, the accusations they throw at us, in Rwanda, that is the language that they use in Rwanda, we call it gukoronga." And this is a very interesting word because I don't speak Kinyarwanda, but in Swahili we have such a word, kukoroga. So he says gukoronga, which means, just to create confusion, kukoroga koroga, to bring a lot of disagreements, right? Unakoroga koroga watu. So I can say that in Kinyarwanda they have a similar word like us in Swahili, gukoronga. And he says this gukoronga is constant insults and attacks to the Rwandese people. Quote, they talk about the war in Congo, first making it Rwanda's war, and then claim it that Rwanda supports it because they claim that he is supporting the rebel groups in DRC Congo. Let me tell you something. This is my take. Whether he is or he is not, what business do white people have to do with that? Why is Belgium concerned with that? Can you go back to your country and stop disturbing us when we know that all you want to do is loot some more minerals? I mean, please. You've made our people, African people, refugees all over Europe, when in reality, Africa does not need Europe. It is Europe that needs Africa. But you have broken down our economies to the point where we have to come now to your homes to beg, to literally beg for you to at least give us a job, for us to be able to earn something. When in reality, we have so much more than you people could ever have. And now, a whole president has to start telling you to leave him alone and let him concentrate on leading his country. It is such unbelievable stuff. So, he says, Belgians go to Kinshasa and they point a finger towards Rwanda and say they will impose sanctions on us. And also, they mobilize the world against Rwanda. This is an old trick. We all know that that's what Western powers do when a leader stands up to them. They say, oh, sanction them. Cut all ties with them. No diplomatic communication. Nothing. Sanction them. Ostracize them. We know this old game. And he continues to say they are shameless, which I second, shameless behavior. Mobilizing the world against Rwanda with our small size. And actually, I am a student of political history and I know why Rwanda is small. Rwanda used to be much bigger, but the Belgians, again, the colonizer came and he just put colonial boundaries however way he wanted to, making Rwanda much smaller. So you're a Rwandese, but you end up in Uganda. Another one ends up in DRC Congo. You guys cannot even understand one another, and then there's misunderstanding, interclan clashes erupt. He comes with his evil and says, that's your enemy, fight him, we are going to fund you, divide and rule. We know all their dirty tricks. Washindwe katika jina takatifu la Yesu. We know all their dirty tricks, all their evil tricks. We know them by now. Now, Kagame accused Belgium of cutting off a big chunk of Rwanda's land, what I've just said. Because that's what actually happened. They did that in a lot of African countries. They would go and just say, okay, the boundary is from here to here. And then cut off a chunk of land from the country which had existed centuries before the white man ever set foot on the continent. It's an old dirty trick. It was also employed in South Africa. Story for another day. Now, he says he asks them to please leave him alone, leave Rwanda alone, stop meddling in our politics, and in the next 48 hours, they should just leave. So there's no diplomatic ties right now between Belgium and Rwanda. And I could not be any prouder. Kudos to Paul Kagame. Kudos to Paul Kagame. We know the kind of exploitation that has been happening in that region. We know it. We are well awake. We are well awake. And I love to see it. I love to see this rising of the African people and the African continent. I love to see Africans saying that, hey, you know what, we've never really had self-rule. It has always been a ploy. It's always been the usual trickery. The usual trickery. I love to see it. I love to see it, and that's the good news that I wanted to share today. Paul Kagame has asked Belgians to go back to Belgium. leave the affairs of Africa to African people. Thank you very much for watching. If there's anything you liked, anything you agree with, be sure to subscribe right here on my YouTube channel. My name is Elizabeth Irungu. It's been great. Ciao, and have a nice day, evening, or whatever time it is from whatever place you've been watching me. Bye bye.